In this lesson video, we will briefly discuss the concept of the active cell in Excel. We intentionally discuss this topic now and not before or after because it will be very relevant when we discuss conditional formatting using formulas in the next lesson. So, what is the active cell? If we click on a cell, this cell now acts as the active cell. We can see the cell reference of the active cell in the address box above. So, what is the difference between cell selection and the active cell? The answer is, there is no difference if you only have one cell selected. We can see the difference if we have more than one cell selected. For example, if we create a cell selection by clicking and dragging towards the bottom right direction like this, if you look closely, from the selected cells, there is only one white cell. This is the active cell. Essentially, you can have multiple cells selected at the same time, but there can only be one active cell. When later we learn to make conditional formatting with formulas, this will be the ideal cell selection condition. Why? Because the active cell is on the top left. Suppose you make a selection by dragging from here to here, for example, towards the top left direction. We can see now, instead of being at the top left, the active cell is now at the lower right location. If you create conditional formatting with a formula using a cell selection like this, you'll get many problems down the road. So, the next question is, how can we relocate the active cell without changing the existing cell selection? For this, you can use the Enter and Tab keys, or with the addition of the Shift key. So, if you press Enter, we can see the active cell is going down one cell at a time. When it reaches the end of the selection, the active cell will jump up to take the top position in the next column. If we press Tab, the active cell will move to the right instead. When it reaches the selection limit, it will move down to the next row, taking the position on the leftmost column. When you add the Shift key, the movement will be reversed. Shift-Enter will move the active cell location upwards, and Shift-Tab will move it to the left. Another way to relocate the active cell is by using the Control-Click method. Now, the function of Control-Click is actually to add or subtract cell selection. But because Excel always selects the last cell added to the selection as the active cell, we can use this also to manipulate the location of the active cell. For example, if we click drag to the top left like this, the active cell is now at the bottom corner. To move it to the top left, if you hold down Ctrl, then click here, now this cell becomes unselected, and this cell becomes the active cell instead. But if you hold Ctrl and click again on this cell is now reselected, and you can see that it is also the active cell. We can also perform this by Control-Click Drag. So if you hold Ctrl, then click drag on these cells, all of these cells are selected, but the first cell we click will become the active cell. So that is what an active cell is and how to control it. You need to keep this information in mind because we will use it in the next lesson on conditional formatting using formulas.